Joining us right now is former CIA officer, National Security Advisor to President Obama's 2012 presidential campaign, Marie Harf. Marie, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning.
What do you make of all of this? Here's the story in the Journal that's basically saying that spies are keeping intelligence from the president.
I hate to say this, but I just don't believe it. You know, I worked at the CIA for 6 years. I worked with Buck, actually. We were there at the same time, and the people I knew there would never do something like this. They pride themselves on being really apolitical, and I just don't, I don't buy it. I think that the intelligence community is more professional and better than that. I do.
But Buck, isn't it true that there are sort of career, officials that work in intelligence that you may not be able to know?
No, you don't have people walking around the hallways of Langley that are open about their political affiliation. In fact, that would be frowned upon, and there's the Hatch Act, which would prevent people from acting in a politicized way in the course of their duties. But that doesn't mean, even though there is a law that would say you're not supposed to do that, and while intelligence is supposed to be nonpartisan, it does not mean that there aren't people who take it upon themselves wrongly to do things that are clearly partisan in intent. But the notion that people inside the intel community would be hiding information that is not theirs, it is the government's information, it's the executive branch's information, from the commander-in-chief because they are making the designation themselves that he cannot be trusted, that's a fireable offense right away. And I think that the notion, I have to say, I think Marie is correct in that it's unlikely to me that anybody who's still on the inside at a senior level would do that openly. Marie, I just want to point out, first of all, good to see you. It's been a while.
You too. You too.
It seems to me that the part of the problem with this is that this campaign of leaks that's been going on, and there certainly are a lot of leaks to the press right now, intended to damage Donald Trump with respect to intelligence. This one in particular, you can't disprove this. So individuals who say, well, there's information being held back, we don't know what information, we don't know what kind of meetings they're talking about, and so this just lingers out there, but it has the intended effect, doesn't it? It makes it seem like the intel community writ large doesn't trust the commander-in-chief.
It does, and I think another thing we should talk about is people are assuming that the leaks are coming from the intelligence community, and as you and I both know, it's really hard to figure out where leaks come from. A lot of people have access to this information, whether it's law enforcement, in Congress. So I agree. Look, if there are people doing this in the intelligence community, it would be a fireable offense. I don't think senior people that are still there would do this. I just don't.
But Dagan, I mean, the Washington Post had the exact language of what went on in the phone call. So, I mean, Marie, you can say that, but how did the Washington Post get the transcript of the phone call?
A lot of people, more people than we would probably expect have access to those phone calls, or someone tells them, someone reads out the transcript to them. I guess my point is just that we shouldn't assume it's the intelligence community who serve very, very proudly under Democrats, Republicans, who are leaking this necessarily.
What do you think, Dave?
But is it critical, and this is to Marie or to Buck, isn't it critical to find out who the leaker is at this point? Again, Mike Flynn was a private citizen of the United States when these phone calls happened. It's beyond the pale to think that these transcripts were circulated among many people in Washington, to Marie's point. And the fact that, I mean, it potentially jeopardizes the safety of the United States that this is going on.
Well, absolutely. Look, the notion that you have a private citizen making a phone call and what seem to be intercepts of that conversation have been released by, and Marie is correct, many more people see that kind of information than I think much of the public is aware of, but that would be released for explicitly political purposes undermines the trust that the American people should have in the intelligence community, never mind just the relationship between the president and his top spies. So this is a major issue. It's an enormous problem. As to finding the source of the leaks, though, that's very hard to do. I do think Marie makes a good point about how it could be political appointees, even including in the former administration, who do this, and you're going to have a lot of difficulty tracking this down. I will let Marie, what do you think about the leak?
I think it's impossible often to figure out where it comes from, and people's guesses tend to not actually be, in the end, if we find out where it came from, where it did. But look, I think that we should be concerned about leaks, absolutely. Buck, you and I know if sources and methods are revealed, that can be problematic for U.S. intelligence going forward. But I also think that we can't assume that all of this is just purely partisan politics. I do think there are some career national security officers who are concerned about the ties with Russia. Look at Russia's activities today. They are being aggressive.
Right.
So I think some of this may be political. We can't discount that some of it is actually people concerned about the behavior of the Trump administration.
I have to jump in here. I have a very hard time listening to this because I think it is the height of optimism to say this is not an orchestrated political campaign. This was not an accident. This was done by people. We know those people who did it must be unelected, highly likely careerists. And the fact that you would give the break to the entire intelligence community it boggles my mind that would be a assertion. I have complete respect for what the spy agencies do, but the fact is this is a private citizen who was ousted, and it was done by a systematic arrangement of leaks.
And there was a phone call.
But the intelligence community is huge. It is vast. There's an enormous amount of people in it, and so we're talking about a very small group. So when people refer to the IC, everything you said is true about it being political. It is targeted. It's going after Trump.
Let's not be naive as we're going through.
I don't think anyone's being naive.
This is as close to a soft coup as I think you could see.
Understood. This could be 4 or 5 people, though. This could be 2 people that are giving all of this information. And so when people say the IC's at war with Trump, look what the IC is doing, that's unfair to the many, many thousands of people that work in the community.
I'll cop to that if you'll at least cop to the fact that this was an orchestrated attempt to get Flynn out.
100%, no question. There are people that were using classified intelligence to get rid of the NSA. Right. No doubt in my mind whatsoever.
Marie, do you agree with that?
Well, I think if Flynn didn't want to be fired, he shouldn't have lied to the vice president. Let's just.
That's
Flynn
a fair
did not,
point. That's an absolutely fair point.
So Flynn did not behave like he should as a national security advisor.
But there was a coordinated effort to get him out.
Sure, but if he hadn't lied, I think that there are people, who are concerned about his behavior.
Absolutely. The cover-up always worse than the crime.
Issue on 2 fronts. It was a cover-up with no crime, according to Charles Krauthammer. But again, an issue.
Cover-up with no crime. Good way to put it.
But it's the leaks. Worry about the leaks.
Let's get out this breaking news.
The swamp does not drain itself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good point. So we have this breaking news. President Trump is tweeting right now. We want to get this out. Stock market hits new highs, longest winning streak in decades, great level of confidence and optimism, even before the tax plan rollout. The president is tweeting this out right now, and of course we know that, but the undermining is as big an issue right now in terms of these leaks. Marie, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining the conversation with us this morning.
Happy to be here.
We will see you soon.